What do you say, Waller County, EC? Jeff, K5 FTA, South Texas Section Emergency.
I'm me, trust me, don't believe anybody else. On me as well, and I deny that I had anything to do with it.
WA5LE Lee. And I don't know what you're, are you an AECF something?
Something,
Okay,
Northwest AEC. That's on your badge.
net manager, okay. And Kirk, N5,
And all around wise ass.
and I'm sure one, K5 SEK, DEC, District 14. Huh?
You sound really good on Zoom.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. I don't remember. It's the agenda, I think. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do, this is the agenda for tonight. We're gonna do a section report. We're gonna have, Dave's got some good stuff from us for Red Cross for what happened with them during Beryl. The meat of tonight's presentation, I've asked all the units to put together a self-analysis of how things went during Beryl so we can learn from it. And then I'm going to throw a project in here just for fun, since we all like to play with gadgets and everything. So, Jeff, I guess you're up.
You gonna share that through Zoom?
Without objection, I'm gonna
share
stay
that
right
too.
here and just read the screen.
Hold on.
I have no prepared notes. They're all prepared notes on the screen. Oh,
yeah.
holy cow, that ain't mine.
No.
That looks like George. That's George's, isn't it?
Yes, this one's yours.
That one's, yeah, that's Jeff.
That's me. Next. So we're gonna only talk about three things. The ARO website, that'll take about 5 seconds. The South Texas July report and a new South Texas appointee since the last time we were here. Next. There you go. I cannot submit my monthly
Sure.
report to the league.
It is short.
Uh-oh.
Hold on.
Technical difficulties.
This is due to their hack or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second here, because he's telling me I'm not sharing.
I gotta start over. Got all that stuff I didn't want.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Am I sharing now?
Please stand.
Yeah, there you are. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next. Next. All right, so go back one. So I cannot submit a monthly report. I think it's 3 months now, maybe 4 months that I have been able to submit a report to the league. The report is done.
That's your microphone.
It-
Hold it there.
It is done. It's just, I cannot submit it to the league. I don't know what they're gonna do when the site gets back up. But until then, we just do it, paper and pencil like we used to do back in the old days. Next,
I have to do that Windows thing that was going around.
yeah. Here's for those of you that don't know, maybe you have some new people here. That is South Texas section, 97 counties. Next. Here is the South Texas section map, all 15 districts. Missing District 11, it was absorbed by District 10 and District 1. Next. Here is our monthly report. I guess I do gotta scoot up.
Take your microphone.
I guess I gotta scoot up and take my microphone. I mean, take my microphone and scoot up.
Just lay it on the table in front of you.
All right, so our number of various members continues to rise a little bit every month, 1,722. Difference between this month and last month is plus 18. Number of DECs, ECs reporting this month is 37. Remember, we had 97 counties, so that's not a good percentage of reporters. Number of DECs and ECs in the section is 72 of the 96. Number of various nets held in our section 126. So that's probably some duplication of reporting, but that's okay. Number of areas net sessions held with NTS liaison, 70 is probably higher than that, but people don't understand what that sentence says, so they put nothing. Number of participants in nets is 2,181. And that is a sum total of everybody's reports, including the HF nets, which I report. We have a net tonight, so all of that information will be reported. There's the call signs of all of the ECs, DECs, and ASECs that we reported for the month. If you don't see your EC, which you do, then you need to say something and get them reporting. Number of exercises this month is 28, 602 hours. Number of training events this month, 51, 447 hours. Public service events this month, 8, 163 hours. Community service events this month, 12, 176 hours. Emergency events this month, 15, 1,180. That's the highest number that we've had in a while. And that's because of the hurricane. Skywarn events this month, 3 for 12 hours. And meetings this month, 26, 432 hours. So, and unclassified, which generally means paperwork and stuff in the background by admins, 76 different things recorded, 422 hours. Total of 219 number of operations for 3,437 hours. That is consistently the second or third highest in the country every month. Some of it is because some sections don't report at all. They may be busy, but if they don't report, they get a 0. But I think that ours is right in line with, I think Ohio reports the most. They have the most active SEC and general ARL leadership up there in Ohio. And I would say that Georgia maybe number 2, maybe Florida. But anyway, we report a lot and we report every month. Next. So we only have one new appointee, and so she's the EC for Robertson County. She is the only, am I thinking this right? She's the only female EC that we have right now. At one time we had I'm trying to think of another. Marita. No.
Lee County.
Well, but she died. But she was a DEC too. Yeah, that's right, Marita. So Lee County, Marita. I was thinking there was one, but I couldn't remember who it was. And Victoria County is a female, but she's not active at all. Anyway, Lorna is a one girl gang up there in Robertson County. And where is Robertson County? It's up there at the top by number 5. I think if you hit the enter button, an arrow will pop down. Maybe not. Oh yeah, it did. What will they think of next? So anyway, this map is courtesy of Walt Sapaniak. Yeah, he did a really good job fixing the old one that we had. Those of you that have done Texas QSO party. Anybody here done that? Yeah. Okay, so the most crooked border county in the state of Texas is Aransas County. Yeah. And I learned that by going to a NARS meeting. There was the guy that ran that event back when I was a member there, and he had made these maps and this logging program where it would tell you how much longer you're going to be in the county at the speed that you're going. And I do not remember the guy's name. And also how many contacts that you had and all this other kind of stuff. And so when he had built the map and did the outline, he reported this in one of the NARS meetings about how crooked that their outline of that county is.
We got five. in-
down there, number
Which-
4,
Which county?
Aransas.
Aransas. It's got body with salt water around it.
Yeah, so the number of little dots that you have to put on there to represent the border is just incredible, where if you have a straight line, you can put one here and one here, you're good. But how crooked it was, he had commented about that. All right, next. So, I don't know what you guys are gonna talk about the 2 events, but here are 2 links, and of course, you're not gonna write this down, but here are 2 links to, information I thought was interesting. The derecho one is a whole lot of maps and a whole lot of color, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's just data on maps and clouds moving and wind moving and all this kind of stuff. So it's really kind of hard to imagine, but it is there. And of course, I'm like everybody else, lost my electricity and it stayed off the same as everybody else. 3 or 4 days. Then the hurricane, if you click on this weather.gov website, you can go to these 4, you can click on these 4 different icons. And of course, on their website, it's stacked like in text. But I got that from Space City Weather. The first one of the derecho came from Keith Brandt. So he had, right, that's exactly right. Did you click on it?
Yeah, I clicked on it.
Dang, what a guy. So anyway, you can click on any of that stuff. We won't click on it here, but it shows you some pretty good information. What I learned from the Space City Weather one was that people talk, well, no, from the derecho one, I had got some calls where they had heard reports that we had 93-mile-an-hour winds downtown. Well, according to that derecho thing, we did not even close. So the highest it got was like 72. And of course, I don't ask me. But
It depends on the elevation.
I thought that if at my house it was 90 miles an hour, like that's crazy. And it was not. The highest it was maybe 57, I think, according to that map. Of course, they didn't have a weather thing right by my house. I had to go between Hooks and wherever the one was south of me and just kind of do an average.
Yeah, this was the right bill?
Yeah. So for the hurricane, the highest winds that I got, sustained winds, and I don't know the definition of sustained winds, and they can tell you, and it's, it's a certain time frame that it maintains this level. And I don't know if it's a minute, 5 minutes, and I don't know. But the highest sustained winds was 37 miles an hour at my apartment, according to the National Weather Service. We did
The
have
majority-
gusts over 70, but a gust is, and then it drops off. And we had a tree right in front of my apartment, showed that it would be dead still, everything spread out, and then the wind would come up and it would all go that way. And all the wind came from the east every time. Talking a little bit about what activity happened in the section. It was actually, there was probably activity, but it wasn't formal. We're in dire straits here. Traffic handling nets. It was try to help out the citizenry as best you can. A good example of that was Brazoria County, where they have 3 linked repeaters. And what they ended up doing was people that had ham radio got on there and said, so where's the gas stations at? So that's what the service that they performed. And they had somebody that monitored that net 24/7 for about a week. In Polk County, they were activated, went to the 9 o'clock briefing, 9 o'clock on Monday. I think it was Monday morning when the storm hit, Monday morning. And their county chief said, we'll be home for dinner with no issues. They didn't think it'd ever get as windy as it got up there. Well, by 11 o'clock, they were off the air. They had their building was complete. The county was without electricity, and they had to move to the fire station. They had a generator. So what the ham radio guys do? They helped her move the stuff. Because in Polk County, you don't have much, so you help out where you can. And they did that every day until their electricity was restored at the EOC. So that's how they helped out. And some of the guys thought that was okay, gave them something to do while electricity was off, and some of them didn't like it at all. That's the way it goes. But anyway, and we can post this on the IO group, so they can click on those links and get right to it. Other people probably already have all these stories and already subscribe to the Space City weather. Next, that's me. That's all I have.
Any questions? Here it says sustained winds of 10 meters.
Above.
Measured at 10 meters.
Oh, at 10 meters off the ground? Oh, okay, okay.
All the guys do is 10 meters. That's another survey. It was in here.
Any other questions for anybody?
Yeah, you can take the S off my last name.
Everybody does that.
What did I do? What's-
There's only,
Oh,
you
you
need to watch that video I made for that guy. He
Walters.
said there's only one Walter. Now there's two, and then the
You
other guy
always
died.
You contain multitudes.
we're trying to give you more than you want.
Here's Dave Underwood.
Dave,
Underwoods.
you're Underwoods? Well, see, that's where the S is supposed to go.
Red crosses.
Yeah, the Red Crosses.
Red crosses.
Red crosses.
I'm gonna go up there,
Okay, we'll take this with you.
cause I can't see that far, Jeff can. Yeah. That's a good spot. Where was he sitting at? That's good enough. That's why I need to be back a little far. Yeah. Yeah, that's my slide.
You're showing it to the mic.
Hi,
No, don't throw that ladder. Just flip it on your lanyard. Just
Dave, WB5HJV.
hold that.
So we're gonna go through a little bit about what Red Cross did for Hurricane Beryl. I don't have the derecho slide. This update, by the way, is courtesy of Kevin McCoy, KF5 FUZ. And this is as of 8/5, August 5th. So good. Okay, this just shows the number of shelters, emergency response vehicles, meals, staffing, and damage. The damage assessment on the lower right doesn't necessarily represent the entire population. This is what the Red Cross damage assessment team discovered. So, and you can see we did have a number of overnight stays up in the upper left-hand corner. That's our number of residents. We had 36 shelters, I think. But I can't see that. I wish I could see. Jeez, I'm getting old, dude. Come here. Oh, he's got my presentation. Oh, yeah, I can't see it up there either.
I'll make it full screen.
Okay. I know, probably. I just didn't want to bother this. Okay, so again, that's the number of shelters, the number of residents we had in the shelters. And our shelters really only started to, we started to bring down our shelters around August 9th. So we still had some long-term residents. This, that doesn't include the cooling center. These were actual shelters. These aren't our cooling centers. We support the cooling centers, but the counties actually initiated the cooling centers. So we supported that activity, but we are not directly responsible for that shelter. So these are actually shelters. And a lot of times people come by because the shelters were cool. they'd come and eat and something. This shows the number of meals we had. We had 87,000 hot meals, 200,000 plus what we call shelf stable. Those were sandwiches and sort of things. And then we also gave out cleanup items such as blue tarps, shovels, brooms, and those sort of things. So, by our definition of pod, no. Yeah, we did have Okay. We actually we did staff the Red Cross station down in 2727 Southwest Freeway on the day of the storm. We monitored GMRS, our Red Cross frequencies, as well as the HF hurricane nets and then some of the local HF nets. But we decided that it was not a communications emergency pretty much by the end of Monday. So GMRS is very organized in this town. I would recommend everyone gets their GMRS license. There's a good group, some good repeaters, and they are quite active as far as storms and things like that. He's involved with it. It's some of his repeaters. It was his repeaters. So yes, I would say that's the same group, Texas GMRS. So we did have, and one reason we had the Red Cross activated, especially for the communications on the Red Cross frequency, we had 38 vehicles. So we only normally have like 3 to 4 emergency response vehicles stationed in Harris County, but then they drive them from all around the nation to bring in to do feeding. We did roving in the neighborhoods looking for people who were hungry, and we had meals on our what we call our ERVs, which are emergency response vehicles. So that went well, and so they actually communicate on a low band frequencies, 47,420. So they have radios inside those ERVs for that. Staffing, this shows the number of people we had staffing. We had almost 800 disaster workers here, and a lot of those came from. That's our challenge, right? We often staff. We try to staff our emergencies and our disaster response with local resources, and they're impacted. So Red Cross uses the local staffing in the initial first 24 hours of 48, and then we go and bring down staff from national and other locations. So that's why we have 800 trained staff, but most of those folks were not from Houston area. So, and then we also have a damage assessment team that go out and walk the streets, and they actually grid everything off. And I know y'all have done some of that, or talked about some of that. And that's what we found from our damage assessment. We found almost 600 homes that were totally destroyed, and that's in the Texas Gulf Coast region. So any questions on that? That's pretty much our activities. Yes, George.
System to the shelters.
Cell phones, and then now we have Starlink too, right? So and Starlink, we know, never went down.
Cell phones that didn't work.
Yes. Cell phones. We have high band UHF, high band VHF, and some UHF systems, but our communications was pretty solid as far as that's report. But often, I mean, I can tell stories about what they consider solid communications in the Red Cross. So sometimes, yes, Dom.
I just got on the bus today and I was looking and on Facebook, the Texas GMRS group,
Yes.
because of the recent SEC ruling, the repeaters are up, but they are not linked.
Right. They've got some fines on linking. So
I'm just, no comment, information. only.
yes. I don't have any comments on that either. Because, say again? Well, and that's the problem, right? Well, I'm not going to judge because there's 2 schools of thoughts in this town on GMRS linking. You got Lockwoods, and then you've got the Hams team too, right? So are they listening before it, right? And they're not when they're linked, right? They're just coming out. And the problem with GMRS, you may have a repeater on this frequency. I can come in the building next door and put a repeater up on the same frequency. It's no coordination. So yeah, there's been some fines and some other things. Jeff, I don't know if do you have any GMRS information or? Yeah. But yeah, I didn't heard I heard that some of them had delinked. I'm still hearing.
No, I got it on Facebook about 2-3 hours ago.
Okay.
So I am completely shocked that they're allowed to run GMRS or repeater at all. It's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard,
I'm apolitical. Sure.
A lot more active than Aries is.
It's
Oh, I mean, their group with that net was fantastic, to be honest with you. Their net during the storm. Yeah, Yeah, it was good.
They
So,
they ran 24-hour nets for like 3 days for the
Yeah.
hurricane.
is that John?
And yeah, sorry I can't be there in person, but yeah, they ran 24-hour nets for 3 days, and it was an awesome net, and they passed lots of traffic.
It
They did a
was.
great job. But unfortunately, the SEC ruled that they can't link GMRS repeaters anymore, so that's all shutting
Right.
down. And so it's limited coverage now.
What he's saying, they ran a net for 3 days during the storm, and it was a solid net. I mean, there was activity and good reports, and again, we have a GMRS up at TransStar at the station here. We have at the Red Cross. It's just another tool in our toolbox. I don't think so. Well, right. I mean, they were contacting the county through different means. I don't think they were posting anything in WebEOC that I'm aware of. John, and that was John, KD5U. John, were you aware of any WebEOC activities, GMRS?
No, they were just working through normal channels if they had any issues.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, too late. Okay, so any questions on the Red Cross? Again, the communications requirements were fairly small, but there was a great response, and it's actually still going on today. So, but if there was a need for communications, we'd been there. So, what I'd also like to cover is one of my other passions here is WinLink. Our WinLink gateways after the storm. I know George had asked me a question, what was the status? So I just quickly can go through this. And these are what I consider the Harris County WinLink gateways. And all the issues listed here were resolved. So this is post-Burl that we had. And so what we're trying to do, we want to harden our sites, right? We want to make sure that the internet stays up and that the power stays on. And so we had some that were successful during the entire duration, and that was I would consider Monday, the 8th to about the 15th. And Womack 10-11 stayed up as far as VHF, UHF. We have at Spring, we have 2 HF nodes for Womack. We have one in Spring, one in Klein. The one in Spring, the generator failed to start again. And that's some of the communications we heard on the ham nets on HF was some of the hospitals along the coastal bend there, their generators weren't starting up. And so you got to check those generators, you got to make sure they're, you test them on a regular basis. So, and actually at that location at Womack Spring, it did not start up. We had some antenna damage. Our Klein HF station, we had intermittent internet, and we're looking at that. Again, we want to harden these sites. N5TRS HF was up for the duration.
Which antenna?
On which one?
N5TRS.
Which antenna was up, stayed up?
The wire or the
vertical.
step IR or what?
No, that N5TRS HF is the RMS gateway, and it's not
Okay.
it's not in this
Sorry,
building.
I need to read the top.
That's okay. That's good. Yeah, because we've done renamed everything, right? So now N5TRS is pieces here, it's pieces there. 12 yes, and I've got a picture of it. N5TRS 12, 13, they stayed up for duration. And again, we had to go through and inspect all the antennas after this. 10 and 11 in this location actually had some internet issues, and we've resolved that. Going back to Red Cross, we actually were up for the duration, got a good generator started up, everything worked. So that RMS gateway stayed up. OFT-10, intermittent power internet outages. -10 HJV at the hospital stayed up, good hospital power. And -12 at George down by where George lives. We lost the power and internet. There's a battery backup, but it died. So we're looking at hardening that site. And again, we already discussed. So any questions on our gateways? Yes, sir.
Womack,
W0MAC.
yeah, 10 packet,
Packet?
yeah, not so good.
Vara or packet?
Packet,
Yeah.
VHF packet.
It's right now, it's not too good?
Yeah, right now it's not too good. Now
What's not too good?
either I can complete a transmission. If I can complete a transmission to TRS, which is equidistant to me as
Okay.
Womack is. I can't do it on Womack, but if I can do it on Womack, I can't do it on TRS.
Say that again?
In other words, I can get the communication, it comes on, but it won't go any further. You know?
Okay, but you said it doesn't work on TRS all the time either?
Well, yeah, sometimes it doesn't work all the time on TRS, but when it doesn't work on TRS, works just fine on WOMAC.
Because as Lee knows, on Sunday mornings, I do all my checks. And he always catches me at some airport and says, hey, you gotta look at this. But I have not noticed that, so I'll take a look at that. So Packet, one reason we still support Packet in the county is because the southern counties, they still have especially Galveston County has a strong Packet representation down there. So, but VARA's been good on all of them.
Oh, yeah, VAR is
Okay, cool.
solid.
Yeah, Packet's getting harder and harder. It's getting harder and harder to support, but we're using its software.
Control was a little iffy this week.
On which one?
WOMAC.
3 or 4?
HF WOMAC.
HF Womack. Which one? You probably don't know which one you're going to. We actually have two,
Which
Frequency.
yeah,
71018.
I think it was 40 meter.
that could be, we actually have two locations. We have diverse, one in Klein, one in Spring, one by the U. And yeah, I'd have to check it. I'd have to know if you could tell me the frequency, I could tell you which one it was. But we-
701. Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know. I can take a look at it.
I use one in Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a good one. And we do have HF forwarding on TRS HF, so that if the internet goes down, we're able to forward messages out of the county over HF.
Yeah, if you ever having trouble with internet connectivity, N5TRS is where he goes, because he's got 2 satellites. He's here.
Yeah.
One coming down in Arizona, the other one coming down in.
But the internet was down here.
But it's unusual. There must have been a problem with the
It-
power brokers.
Yeah, it wasn't down here. It was actually at that site between here and where the site is down. Let me be very clear. Yeah.
Yeah, because they've had troubles with power burning and stuff in the building in the base of the power dropping out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But-
the point is, they always have internet, because I got-
But the point is, no, where did I? The point is, even if it's not internet, now you can use a digipeater to reach one that's up. I would recommend testing this and practicing this.
I know that's what I had to do a few times. I couldn't quite reach into WOMAC.
Yeah,
I ended up using TRS to get to it.
and it worked.
Yeah.
Even on Packet.
Oh, yeah.
So WOMAC, well, I'm trying to diagnose things. TRS can talk to WOMAC, but you can't talk to WOMAC.
Sometimes, and you're only 6 miles away from me.
Huh? Who is? WOMAC?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're 6 miles away from me, and TRS is 6 miles away.
I'm not at 6 miles away from you.
No,
it's-
WOMAC is.
Okay, I got it.
WOMAC and TRS are both 6 miles away.
Okay. Just let me know if you have any problems. Alan Isaacson and myself support these systems along with Mike and all, so. Ding. Next slide, please. Okay, now,
Next slide.
so here's a test. Tell me which frequency these antennas are on.
So the tallest one is VHF. Yep. I can't really see that one.
UHF.
UHF.
So the one over on the right
TMRS.
is HF.
This is UHF, and here's our HF antenna.
So
This
is
is,
that the same one? It's got a bent tip at the top?
we have replaced that.
Okay, so I put up the one with the bent tip at the
Huh?
top.
This is on HCAM.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got through fixing this one the other day because it became almost horizontal. So we straightened this one, but this is our HF antenna, in case you ever wonder what they're running on TRS.
Is that guided at all?
No,
They showed pictures.
That's what I thought.
it survived Burl too. It's just like,
Yeah.
we were like, oh. It's like, like the flag's still there. It's like, because that thing is so flimsy, it's just amazing.
Yeah, we don't have any guy wires on it.
Now, yeah, sure, we did all that right there, so, yeah, so,
We have pictures of this in one of our other meetings,
okay.
and the old one that was banned.
Bing. So this is what was left of, this is the Red Cross building
Yee.
after Burl. This element finally flew off, I don't know what time, off the HF beam. This is an HF beam that's like this, but right now it's kind of like this. So, and this is another one of those flimsy antennas, HF.
It stayed up.
It stayed up. So yeah, we had a little bit of damage. We got it all fixed. Well, the HF beam, we're gonna trash that, but, this is the top of the Red Cross. I thought I'd just show a picture at
So what is that brick wall looking thing?
this.
Yeah.
That's a hotel behind us.
Ah, okay. Didn't make sense. I know.
I know,
exactly
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. But I was actually there and it was kind of interesting because they have sensors on the doors. And so if you walk in the stairwell, the door unlocks. And so it faces east. So I'd get in the stairwell because we had things fly up on top of here. And it was getting a little hairy, so I was gonna go down the first floor. Every time I went stairwell, the door would flip open. And so it was wild. So anyway, that's a Red Cross. I don't think I've got, okay. Again, here's what we're going to do as far as WinLink. We're gonna review and the system reliability. George, I owe you still your report on -12. As far as what's up, I may pay you for some experiences. And hardening opportunities. We're looking at Starlink, possibly on at least one HF site or some form of hardened internet service. Fine. Now, how's yours work in the rain?
I haven't needed it, but.
Yeah, I don't have much luck. I don't have much problems. And yeah, real heavy downpour, but the satellites are so low Earth orbit now. Latency is amazing. So
Now, I noticed that TRS sometimes when it doesn't have connectivity, about halfway through, right before it goes to pull messages, it'll tell you,
yeah,
send them on, and you have to kind of.
if it's running and TRS is running RMS relay, and what that does, it throws you into I'll store them locally and pass them when I can, right? And I know some of the things we're doing up in Montgomery County is the EOC just has a local mailbox on it. So you can set up a local mailbox on it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, they can pull it locally.
yeah.
They just can't send it.
All the lightning storms we've had around here continue to wreak havoc on all these systems, computers, radios, yada, yada, yada. Everything's well grounded at these locations, but sometimes you can't prevent it. So it's almost during the summer months, it's almost like continuous work as far as keeping these sites up. And as always, all the gateways are operational. I checked before I came here just in case Kurtz came up with one that didn't work. And always check the channel selection in the RMS clients for the latest information. We did add a 6-meter port on W0MAC Spring. So give you something to play with. Yeah, 50.303. 50.303. But again, check the channel selection. And 6 meters, because 6 meters is going to have some interesting propagation here soon. So, and
Meter, VAR FM?
it's VAR HF. Yeah. And it supports PACTOR 4. All of our systems now support PACTOR 4. We've turned on PACTOR 4. And as always, thanks to Harris County Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Joey Clements, W5BAK, and Alan Isaacson, KB2WF, for their continued support and guidance. Thank you. Yeah.
What's next? I think the next is the big event.
Lee, can I make a couple of comments real quick?
Sure, can you hear?
Richard Driscoll.
Okay, W5SI-10 was nailed by one of the lightning storms in July. It's back on the air now. It's now on the isolated power supply at the site. Isolated, uninterruptible power supply at the site. And so it should be very reliable. We don't have VAR on it yet, but we're working towards that now that we've got all the 4 repeaters in the Kingwood area repaired. We're almost repaired. That's it.
Okay. That's what you sent out in your email, right, Richard?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to give a little bit of a summary with Lee's help here for
Clip
what.
it on. Then hear your pulse.
You hear my pulse. Does it mean my heart's still going?
Yeah.
How can you hear me now? From the district viewpoint, Harris County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management never really mobilized us. What they did do is they finally called us and said, we want some support for some possible deployments, and it was up ultra hush hush, wouldn't tell us anything, wouldn't let us tell anyone anything. So the reason I was so tight-lipped about this is we were told we couldn't talk about it. Hindsight, and this is conjecture on my part, there seemed to be a pissing battle going on between Lena Hidalgo and was it John Patrick? Dan Patrick. No, that wouldn't happen. Yeah, because we what do we have? 4 or 5 deployment times that all got canceled.
Yeah.
And we had people lined up, had places for them to go, and it just fell apart. And I think what was happening is they kept waiting for supplies to show up from Austin, and the supplies never showed up. And they kept postponing it. Finally, Houston started doing pods, and they just canceled us. So it was a dry run on our part trying to get things organized, and we were trying to pull in GMRS and React and CERT. CERT was primarily only interested in after the fact, more than during the fact. And GMRS, since we were talking about outside the home deployments, they weren't interested. They wanted to stay at home and report. This is the word we got. And React, I don't think we ever got anything from React. So John Sawyer and I are still trying to work this issue with Joey. We've been trying to get a meeting with him now for 4 weeks to discuss this issue. And we remember we had a discussion back in June about Oxcom. I think, George, you remember that, I know, because we've had some discussions. We're trying to define what Joey Clements wants us is, I want to contact one person and have all the communications, and I want all the tools in the toolbox. And he wants Oxcom to be a separate entity. How do I want to phrase this? He wants Oxcom to be the main entity controlling this. He doesn't want Texas GMRS or Aries or React or whoever controlling it. He wants them to be tools in the toolbox under the control of Oxcom. And we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. So we're not trying to lock anyone out, but come to truth be known, when we went soliciting for people to volunteer for pods, guess who responded? Aries. It was Aries people that responded. Now, I was very disappointed in Texas GMRS wouldn't come through on that. Now, the other thing that post disaster that we probably should have done from day one is we probably should have had a net going when the hurricane hit. And we didn't do that. We were waiting for Harris County Office of Homeland Security to tell us they wanted information. Well, we never got that call. So I think there was a lot of politics going on that we didn't see necessarily, but we got inferences that it was happening. So it's a difficult situation. I don't know. John and I are trying to work the issue, try to figure out how we can come to new accommodations with Joey. And I think Joey's caught between a rock and a hard place too. I don't think it's his fault.
So Fort Bend County was not activated either, the MROC group,
Yeah.
and they were so disappointed.
Well,
And then they ended up losing a couple of their antennas. But yeah, they were like, so what are we supposed to do? And the CERT group down there was not activated.
yeah.
And then they were activated to come down here and do this, and it's not something that they wanted to do.
Yeah, well, that was the only thing he wanted from us. We were thinking we'd hold in the information then start reporting stuff on WebEOC, but apparently that wasn't a priority. And I don't know how many people here have WebEOC accounts still. Lee, do you have one, don't you, Kirk? I have one, I know.
I have one.
I have
Who?
one.
John?
John Sawyer, KD5U has
John
one.
has one.
And then Walt, I've got one in 5TQ.
Walt?
course,
So-
mine is with Fort Bend County
Areas is with Fort Bend.
Yeah, I figured hers was.
and with
Uh,
Austin.
That would have been the thing that we would have needed to have someone probably either with internet access, depending on their current situation, or have them located at Transtar where they had internet access. So, I mean, the WebEOC, we have to have someone enter it in. But anyway, that's from the district viewpoint. That's what happened. I think we should have had a net. I should have called the net myself instead. We're gonna have a net anyway. Yeah, Dave.
So Harris County is one of your served agencies, right? Do you still consider Red Cross a served agency? So if we would have reached out and requested, would I request through Aries or would I request through Oxcom? How does that work?
I hate to speak for Joey. As far as I'm concerned, we have an MOU with Red Cross, don't we? We have an MOU with Red Cross, so you can reach us directly.
We have national. Yes.
Yeah. So as far as,
I have a MOU with Mike Knoll from a long time.
Right.
How valid that is,
anyway, I would have treated,
you
I
need-
would have treated it as a legit request and we would have done what we could have.
If Red Cross needs something from Harris County, they should ask Harris County. If they need something, additional
Part
stuff,
of that.
and they
Red
think
Cross is
Aries
some-
can perform.
John.
Yeah, they could.
If Red Cross needs something from Harris County, they should ask Harris County. If they need something from Aries, they should ask Aries.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
We need something.
But if you needed communications,
Right. Well, the most likely scenario is staffing, if we have communications problems in shelters, right?
yeah,
That's most likely. I can see.
I mean, we've got GMRS upstairs, we've got Coast Guard radio upstairs,
But again,
Marine
that's
radio.
Harris County, if we're talking about areas.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, radio volunteers. 'Cause we-
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So our last big adventure with shelters was Harvey.
Right,
And we had a PI dollar sign response from Aries. We had like 3 people said, well, we want to go to a shelter. That's it. And I don't know how many shelters that Red Cross had available in the South Texas section, but it was a lot. And nobody wanted to go anywhere.
well, again, that's because that was the impact area. So as, I'm not necessarily talking about Harris County areas, I'm talking about
South Texas.
South Texas.
Yes, right.
I mean, that's your resource, pool, right? It's not just,
Well,
anyway, I just,
believe it or not, we had people coming in from Austin. We've had 2 people from Austin that were gonna come in and man the pods for us, and we had to hold them off and hold them off and hold them off, and there were time conflicts we had to juggle too. And then we finally canceled it, but I'm not sure how they got into our loop. I sent a District 14 all. Jeff, you told them?
I did.
Good.
I told every EC in the section.
Well, we actually had two people lined up to come in from Austin to help us with the pods.
So where were they gonna sleep? Who's gonna feed them? You gotta work all that out before they get here.
What did, well, we always could have put them here. They had a cot set up here.
Took them down, remember?
Yeah, I know.
First thing we did with Joey Colton Center. We just broke down this room and that room.
One of them was gonna be for the day only. I know that. I'm not sure about the other one.
Closed both sides.
We would have figured something out,
And he
Jeff.
showed up as soon as we finished the last cot, shows up, I'm not here, what can I do?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kurt.
so have you ever assessed employable volunteers?
Are you talking to me or talking to him?
I'm talking rights, both of y'all.
It depends on the circumstances. In our case, with Gail and ours, the eye of the storm went right over us and we lost power for 12 hours and that was it. So I was deployable.
Okay, there's one.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think Jeff is in the same boat
So-
because,
I can go with the job I have now. I can miss work.
Yeah.
So after the derecho, I told you, I'd come down here and start the whole thing off, but it never happened.
no, that's what's confusing is the Harris County Office of Homeland Security Emergency Management has backed off the close association with Aries. And I'm still not sure why, other than they want more tools in the toolkit. And we're not getting anything done is the problem.
They need communication resources. They don't necessarily care if the areas are.
No, they don't care if who it is.
The Red Cross is pretty much at the same direction. Communicators. They don't really care. Source. Yeah.
I mean, we were gonna bring GMRS people into the radio room if we could. And, but the problem is gotta be careful. They can't touch all the radios.
Really got to do that though before the storm. You gotta establish a relationship.
GMRS,
Well, we were
The-
working that issue
the
before the
GMRS
storm. It's just that we hadn't gotten any further than initial context when the storm hit.
the GMRS guys said that if we really, really, really needed,
Yeah.
6 hours. Yeah.
the GMRS guys said if we really, really needed them, they would deploy
Again?
to Transtar.
People asking questions in the Zoom chat, you can't hear them.
Yeah,
If you'd like me to, I can put it on my phone.
well, what are they? What the questions?
It's a comment.
It's a comment from Katie.
What I'm saying is the GMRS guys said they would deploy to Transtar if we really, really needed them. That's it.
Well, we
They
would have
they
needed
come.
them if we could have got some of them to support the pods, because then we were gonna have to have GMRS communications between the pods and Transtar.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Although
pre-storm.
you and I could have
I
done
thought-
it. We're both GMRS licensed, but if they're used to working with each other and they have their protocols, I have no problem bringing them in the radio room.
Anyway, I think they were more available than we thought, but we had to have some
Well, it sounds like
activation.
they had a pretty good net going, yes.
In friendly confines, every big chair.
Have a cool one right beside you. Yeah, I know.
Unplug it.
Yeah,
I
well,
think there's a certain reality here, right? How many deployable volunteers do you really have?
Right.
Gotta face it. Truly.
How many people that were willing to comment when the moment struck? Come in now? 6. And 3 people from out of this area.
And I can tell you, when I was DEC, jump back into there, it was always the same folks. Same group. Same group.
Well, several people said that they would be available. All we had to do was call them. When the day came, when we called them, they weren't available.
Right.
One of the biggest problems was most of the people who were pulling from in this pool of area were tending to their own.
Right.
And understandably so. I mean, I had no power in my house. I had a generator, so I was okay to leave, but a lot of people didn't have power.
Right.
Transtar didn't have power.
And that's again why the Red Cross doesn't use local impact resources, for
Right.
support.
And District 8, they were great sending people. I'm sure Marita and the rest of the guys.
Yeah. District
Isn't
7.
she Lee County
Yeah, that's 7.
at 7? Yeah, and Boston at District 2 up north where John is from. He got people. They weren't affected as heavily as we were, so they offered to send people down. But then the logistics exist on, like they said, who's my replacement? Where are we eating? Where are we sleeping? And all that. And we never got that deep into it because of, as Sherwood was saying, the tug, pull, push of what was going on upstairs in the big room.
You have these shelter parks,
any what?
shelter parking. If you drive your car there, you can leave it. And
There are places around Houston that have covered parking.
I mean, if you're gonna come in here to Transtar, help out.
No. No. In fact, if you come here to Transtar and it's a heavy water event, you better bring your to-go kit because this place usually becomes an island and you can't get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the things about working out here at Transtar.
What about the QR codes about that?
No, they may have 3 or 4 inches in the parking lot out here, but never more than that. But the roads all around here go underwater. There's underpasses, obviously, and then all around, you can't get in and out. The last time they became an island, they opened up a gravel railroad crossing right next to us here. And they posted a railroad person there to control traffic across the tracks at that point. And that's how they were getting in and out. Huh?
Bridge crossing before they put the other path.
Yeah. There is an old crossing over there that's blocked off most of the time, but they opened it up so we could get people in and out of here. But they had to post a railroad employee there.
That's nice. So Sherwin, you gonna go through the districts?
Yes, let's go next to the districts. What are we looking at? What? Is this northeast? Okay, let's go. Here,
Yeah, on the right.
here.
Oh, we go. I talk loud, everybody can hear.
Yeah, well, they can hear you better now.
That may not be a good thing. Hey, we were supposed to do the good, bad and ugly, so there we go.
Oh, we definitely got ugly.
You got that right. Go ahead. So Northeast, we've, hurricane hit us pretty hard, and I'll be the first to admit we underestimated it by a long shot. We looked at the maps. Dave and I are speaking of KG5VLY is my AAC back there. He did this for me. At, I don't know, 10 o'clock when you and I had our last meeting, we were clearly outside of the cone of uncertainty, dumbest term ever, but we were clearly outside. All of 59 was outside. And then whatever it was, midnight or so, it took that 15, 20-mile turn right into the middle of us, which ruined our day a lot. We did learn a lot. So we had several things that worked. Keep on going. And, but we had several that didn't. And then we got a lot of things moving forward that we can do better. So as a group, it was a great learning lesson that affected us, but it could have been a heck of a lot worse. All right. So what was our good? So one of the things we changed is, and this comes from a Boy Scout thing, is that you got to be prepared. So we try to do things proactively versus reactively. So starting whether Sherwin tells us to or not, we start having nets as soon as there's a hurricane in the Gulf. And I love the way Dave says it. It's like, hey, hurricane's in the Gulf. Get your helmet out of the closet. And then the cone of uncertainty is near us. Make sure it fits. Hey, it's coming towards us. Put it on and strap it on. That's kind of how we look at it. So we start doing the same thing. So for days ahead of time, we had this happen before, and I know every one of you had the same problem. Oh, I didn't know what frequency you guys were going to be on, so I missed it. Well, that's why we do it for 2 days ahead of time before the storm even hit. Everybody knew where we were going to be, and they knew the radio worked, or worse, they knew it didn't work and it was too late to fix it. So a little of both. What was nice during the storm, after the storm, we had hams that have never been on frequency with us before, including some of our scouts that have had their ham licenses. They jumped in and started doing exactly what we'd expect them to do. And then right after that, you see everybody's power starting to go out, and then everybody's generators work great right up until they didn't. Mine being one of them. It worked great until it didn't come back on. And I know Richard's on here, so our repeaters were in that same boat. They worked fantastic up until they didn't. And over 48, 50 some odd hours, all 4 of our repeaters slowly dropped out for a different set of reasons each time. We do have good parts where we actually ended up with the credit of saving a lady's life because she couldn't get information out. We were, and I was sitting in the OC next to the fire chief, and we were able to dispatch somebody within 2 minutes, and it worked. We had another entrapment. We had, I don't know how many power lines that we were sitting at the EOC handling that information with the fire department so they could find out, oh, I didn't know there was a live power line across our entire main drag going down West Lake Houston Parkway, not to mention the 6 trees. And just for the record, don't drive through a hurricane. It's a terrible idea. Power line hitting your car will scare the crap out of you, just for the record. But we had, I think, Dave and I were talking about 18 hams actively on the air with us at any given time, reporting what they saw when they saw it. Some of it was useless information to the fire department, but it was helpful overall. We were doing at a test seat of fire department, and yeah, no, not the training center, at the I don't remember what station number that is. Do you remember? Yeah. Because we had to move it.
It's station 19.
Right there. No, there's 6. There you go. I knew Richard would know.
That's from Rich.
Keep going. I knew I could hear him. Keep going. So we end up going on air right before the storm for 2 days, and we were broadcasting nets 2 to 3 times a day, depending on what we were doing. As it got worse, as it progressed, storm day, we had no intentions on even activating because we were just going to get a rainstorm. And then somewhere along the neighborhood of midnight, we discovered this was slightly untrue, and we were in for a much worse than we thought. So that's where we went ahead and activated ourselves and went to the OC, and we started in the morning. Storm was still going on when I drove up. That was a terrible idea. I don't recommend anybody doing that. Most of what we ended up doing was finding who had problems. Power lines was a big thing. Trees down, impassable roads, and passing that information to the people that need to hear it at that time. So 6 power lines is what I remember across major thoroughfares. So those all helped. So what we did was right. We learned a lot from that. Then if you keep going to one more slide, go to the next one.
He's a slide guy.
Oh, I keep pointing at you like you're doing it. Keep going. I'll just point at both of you.
He's the only one on the video.
Oh, keep going, because you're not gonna make this visual any better.
Yeah, well.
The good part is keep going, because one of the things that we figured out is there's, we have all of our folks, we have a minimum of 3 people monitoring Transtar, because whoever's at the EOC can't monitor Transtar as well. There was very little activity coming, but then you guys had the same problem we had. But one of the things, the challenges we had is there was no automatic step, and I think that you and I talked about, I think that was on me. If Transtar is not working, where do you go? I didn't know, so that was on me, that there should be another automatic.
We actually fell back to the second.
Exactly, so
Lost a lot of power there. We don't know. I don't know what it was. We suspected it was laid over again. It wasn't completely gone. It just was very.
We've actually, we shot down the repeater.
Okay, well, we went to the backup. Actually, we went to the tertiary backup because we knew it had better coverage.
but then after
We
you
now
and
have 3
no, and I've got them now, because that was one of the things that I learned from it. Then the other part was at the after the storm, we we're talking about the PODs. You already, the pods of that discussion you've already covered, because it was confusing to us. Well, maybe, but maybe not. And then, no, just kidding. We're gonna do it the next day.
Say,
Well, I know it makes sense now. It didn't make any sense then. We discovered a problem we didn't know we had in the first place is Atascocita's in the county and Kingwood's in city of Houston. They don't like each other for the most part. So when EOC and Atascocita is trying to tell the folks in Kingwood there's a power line across their street, they couldn't care less, because that's not them, and they want nothing to do with it. Hey, Dole, there's a tree across North Park Drive, complete blockage. Don't care. Atascocita's not going over there anyways. That's City of Houston's problem. We didn't know that was a problem until that day. So now we're actively trying to get a secondary EOC, or at least park a ham in a fire station's lobby, something to get information over there. We didn't realize this was a problem until it was a problem. Luckily, the lady that was injured that we got over there was in Kingwood. Luckily, the chief decided that was a big enough problem. He did call over there to make sure it got taken care of, but we didn't know this was a problem until now. So now we know what we can do to fix it. So we're already working on solving that one. The next one. It's like, that was kind of where we were talking about. These are both the same. It's one of those things where, okay, how do we fix this to where it doesn't happen again? And that's one of the big learning lessons. And we know how to fix it. It's not that big a deal. It's just a matter of doing it now. So, but we did learn stuff that we get to move forward with. So keep going. One more. So one of the things that we discovered, which was after 4 repeaters go down, which is just funny because we had a drill, what, a month before this, Dave? We had a month where we roll through all of our repeaters for all of our nets. Each week we rotate to a different repeater just to see who can hit it and who can't, and make sure you have it programmed right, because I bet we have 10% that don't have it programmed right every time. And then the last week we go to simplex. I don't care who net control is. That's how it's going to happen in this instance, is whoever's net control, whether it be at the EOC or at their house, it's going to have to be simplex. And we were surprised how many people could hit net control on simplex, regardless of where they were. We only lost about 15-20% of people just based on where their area was. However, during the storm, they all forgot this. Oh, the four repeaters are down. I guess we're done. And that's exactly what happened. So we were trying to broadcast from the EOC the next day on Simplex. We did a net. I think we had one person respond and then that was it. And it got quiet from there and we had nothing. So that's a training aspect, which is an easy training to do. So we're already working on that one. Same thing goes with WinLink. I got to give credit to Richard because all of our repeaters down, including our digipeater for WinLink, within a week, everything was back up working great. They all went down for different reasons, which he can explain better than I can, but clogged fuel filters, no fuel, generator didn't start, antennas down, pick one you like. They're all there. That was one of the ones that we preached to everyone about changing their oil. Like right now, I'll tell you guys the same thing. When you had your generator on during a storm, did you change your oil yet for the next storm? Because it's coming. Change your oil now. Yeah, we're getting there. But one of the things that we need to do as ECs is when I'm looking at Montgomery County, who is literally next door to us, I mean, not 10 minutes from us is Montgomery County. And Liberty County is 15 minutes the other way. I said, I'm much closer to the Montgomery County towers and EC than I am to here. So having a relationship with your neighboring ECs to where you can have a cell phone call before the storm hits, make sure you have your own plan, and there should be a first name basis before, because we mostly look at what Jeff sends out. Here's the ECs for everybody, but we don't know each other that well. All of our neighbors we should know. They're up on the air.
You know their frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
They change repeaters.
Yeah, you surf enough, you get there.
So they used to be on O2 all the time. Yeah, not anymore.
But Dave and I both discussed, we need to make sure at least once or twice a month, we're checking in on their nets as too. I know Dom checks into ours all the time. So when we're sitting there going back and forth, we need to have a relationship with them as well. And I would encourage everyone else with the same boat.
I mean, I'm a member, because I live right up the creek, right? So
Mhm.
Creek is Montgomery County. I'm a member of Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Areas too as well. It's paid for them, so.
No, and that's,
Right, right. I don't know if that's frowned upon, but I know they, I forget who the EC up there, he reached out to me and asked me, am I still interested?
and that's why is that when we're so close to you, there's more reason for us to be on a first name basis and have each other's contacts and do things together than for me to go down to Richmond. There's no way I can hit that anyways. And that's not some place where my guys are going to have to go, but being neighbors, that's going to be something that comes up more than once. So that's what's one of those things that we can do better at moving forward. One of the things is that we talked about, same thing on here, is where to tune, when to tune, and why. If you can't reach anyone else, so we've already done that after action at our very first meeting, is getting their 205. I said, you guys haven't looked at this in a long time. Here's the repeaters in order. When one's down, go to the next one. When that's down, in the end, you're at Simplex. Here's our 2 Simplex frequencies. Go there. That's where we'll be. And we've already had that on the very first meeting because we knew that was a big one, and that's exactly where this will be solved. Yeah, on the website, it's correct. We're going to work on, we've already talked about doing at least 1, if not 2 EOCs, because David lives in Kingwood on the other side of the river. We are both separated by Harvey, which is great if that's where you need to be. It's irrelevant if David needs to get to Atascocita and the water's over the bridge, can't get there from here, literally. And it's only 2 miles. So that's where we want to start setting up take our foot forward, which I may need your help in the end once we get there, working with the city of Houston. But I don't know if anyone has the best relationship in city of Houston to make that a lot easier. I don't have high hopes. We'll see.
With Brett coming back here, he was in charge of stuff down there at city of Houston. He's back here at Transtar.
Who?
Brett.
Shryock?
Yeah.
He was fire marshal's office. It wasn't city of Houston.
Oh, was that where it was? I thought it was.
Tommy Gonzalez, you're thinking of.
No, this is where I'm thinking of someone else that was.
Brett was Joey's number 2 upstairs, and he went over to fire marshal's office for a year. He just left FMO. He's back here again.
Back here now. He's probably going to be Joey's replacement.
City of Houston would be Greg Jurens or skinny guy.
Oh, that's not me.
I thought there was one of Joey's guys.
Yeah, that works for General Services, is his name. Works
Either way.
for Lower.
So that's kind of our plan with that. Rich and I had talked about this before is if I'm telling Jeff he needs to run his generator once a month to make sure it works, because most people don't start it until they need it, then it's way too late. But when's the last time you started those generators that worked for this storm? I guarantee most of us are in the exact same boat. If you're not running them once a month, at least once a quarter, turning that oil around and make sure that runs and starts up when you want it to, seems to be an important thing, and we have to do the same thing. So we need to set our maintenance schedule of our own to do the exact same problem.
Scott? Scott,
There
can
you
you
go.
hear me?
Rich, I think Rich-
I hear him, but I can't hear what you say. What you got, Richard?
I'm gonna say, Scott, something we've learned from my job is one of the things you want to do is if you have a generator that's in preservation for some reason, like an emergency generator, and you do run it, you want to also load it as much as you
Oh,
can,
yeah.
because you want to bring the generator up to temperature to drive all the moisture out of it.
No, that's a good point. Richard is saying if you're going to start your generator to test it, put it under load. Otherwise you're idling.
Yeah, Goose.
He's the one who went overseas.
Yes, he's the one that left here and went over there. Yeah. He might be coming back too. I don't know.
It could be, but for some other information.
Let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
And then, David, if you want to touch base on this came up at our meeting. When all this happens and you rotate over to Simplex, there's got to be a method on making that work best, which it came up at our meeting talking about wilderness communications protocol. Honestly, I'd never heard of it. So David and I looked it up and he printed out. Go, Dave.
When the repeaters go down, you're automatically in the wilderness protocol. Okay, so
You go that way.
Just stand near him for the microphone.
Oh, don't trip either.
yeah, really. So I came up with a little sheet, stole it from a variety of sources on the internet.
Borrowed?
R&D, rip off and distribute. I'm not ashamed to say it, but let's face it. The way it's supposed to work is starting at 7 in the morning to 7 at night, every 3 hours, you listen for 4 minutes on the national frequencies. Okay. That last minute, you can actually, somebody needs to make a call to go, hey, is anybody out there needing help or whatever? Because they may not realize, but if everybody knows from 7 to 7:05, people are going to be on the air, that's very helpful. You do it, and there's 5 different frequencies. You've got 146.52, 446, 52, 52.5, 223, 500, 1294, 500. If you can listen to those and you're listening at those times, and you have different people listening at the times, it's not just one frequency for that time. You need to be listening to all of them if possible. They're in order of importance on this form. You know, the 146.52 is the most important. It's the most common. There are more technicians out there than anything else.
But it's a calling frequency.
But it is just a calling frequency. If somebody responds, move to a different frequency, please. Because if you've got even if you're on a net or whatever, we don't want to hear about how you've got cabin fever and are bored out the wazoo, dying for your Dr. Pepper. Go to a different frequency, especially in the wilderness protocol, because you could potentially a life-saving event.
You push the mute button. It's good.
It was for Dave.
It's all good.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm loud. It's good.
So, David, will you, get that to somebody that can post it on the?
It's already got on the card, so.
It's on the flash drive and I don't need it back.
Okay.
So y'all two fight over it. I don't care.
Well, you can have your flash drive back. I've already got it on the computer.
He already RD'd it.
We already.
See? I approve.
Are you gonna get this in?
I can upload the whole stack to IO if you want.
Yeah, we need to get it to Harris County.
Jim, I thought we had this in there.
Huh?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember wilderness being in there.
I never saw this.
Yeah.
Dave who? Dave who?
That's right. Never saw a thing.
So.
It's at the bottom. So is my call sign. I don't care. It's Word. It's it.
This should be in your communication plan, by the way, because we had something similar like.
Right.
Indicated during.
Part of the problem is find the original communication plans in an editable format, so you don't have to retype the whole thing.
Amen.
Good luck.
Editable. Edible.
That's the key.
Wad it up and eat.
I don't care if you eat it or edit it. By God, you gotta fix it. Put some salt and pepper on that sucker because it's not working the way it is.
But when we found this, that came up at our meeting, that was a good solution to the simplex issue that we had self-created that we didn't know we had.
Now, did you guys come up with a frequency for your local?
We already had that.
percent?
Whether they chose to use it or not is a whole different discussion. And that's kind of where that training part comes in.
Because I think all the units have a simplex
Yeah,
frequency
yeah.
specified.
We do. We have a simplex and a backup
We
simplex.
have
that was
two different,
Very quiet.
we have two different simplex frequencies. One of them is our main frequency. Because if you're simplex, you would still hear it. Okay, and then we have another simplex frequency that we chose because we know that the Scouts radios are all programmed to it as their primary.
Okay.
We're sneaky that way because we set up all the Scouts in our area.
They don't have to know what we did.
Hey, I'm not ashamed to say it. So yes, and we have that published. We put it out in our ICS 205 form. So we're working the problem.
Let's see what else we got.
Back to the slides.
Yep. I think we'll have one or two more and then it's all, then we're all done. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
See if I can not hit the mute button this time.
Yep, one. Two more.
One of the things we found that was important because everyone in my area was out of power. They didn't have their internet. Their Apple iPhone only worked for about 11 minutes before that went down. But sitting at the, I'm an anti-Apple guy, sorry. So my Android never failed. But at the EOC, we still had active computers. We could pull that. We were able to give weather reports every 30 minutes to an hour. Dave's sitting at his house. I can give him, well, it looks clear now. Well, do what you want to do outside for 30 minutes because there's one more band coming at you. And that was apparently really helpful. So having that weather report coming from people that have a ability to pull the weather report is extremely helpful. And our last one is we have already updated the 205 to make sure everybody had it. And it was back at our first meeting because it's one of those things you don't look at. And then by the time you need it, you should have looked at it. It was too late. So we've already printed that again, given it to everybody that would use it in the district and had it at our monthly meeting. I think that's the last one. But Dave, you asked about who's ready to deploy, and it's a good question because I had the same question. When I took over as EC, we had 101 members. We had 70-ish active-ish members, and we had 35 to 40 checking in on a weekly net. So I sent an email out to all of them to do that exact question. And it wasn't deploy because deploy is different depending on which method you want them deployed. Are you willing to monitor a radio? Everyone's willing to monitor a radio. If you don't have to leave your cushy seat at home with the air conditioner on, it's a good day. Would you deploy locally? Would you deploy regionally? And would you deploy out of state? And it was yes, no questions to all of them, pending verification when storm is en route. We cut that list down a lot, but now I know who to call when it does come that time. And it's a much smaller list. Your 6 is about right. I think we have 12 that are willing to deploy. We only have 4 that are willing to go out of state, but that's only depending on what's going on that day. But it gives me direction to know. So it's helpful. It wasn't hard. It's just send an email.
You sent a form out, email, whatever.
Mhm.
Did you send me a copy?
I can. That was a long time ago, but I do it every year. I do it each year because it changes. Yeah, I just do it on spreadsheet because I understand spreadsheets and it's easy. And I can track everybody, add and delete and change it as I need to for everything. But it's just a question I send out to each person and ask them again each year.
How are you? Mailing everybody, you got a list?
Yeah, I just pull everybody's email address. I have. We have, let's rephrase that. We have them offered to Groups IO. I think we're probably at 2/3 of them are on it. Not all of them for sure. We did a unit IO and that has worked well.
Yeah, Dallas
has done that. That's already in existence. There is a groups.io subgroup for every
Mhm.
yeah, there is. Southeast is the only ones that do not have one because they've never asked us to make one. Is there anybody even in Southeast?
They still there?
Well, we got a big question mark on the southeast slide. So.
And you need to encourage people to join that group's IO. That way you can send an email to that group and everyone that's joined will get it.
Well, that might be better because I wonder if AT&T is chopping off some of my people.
The groups IO works and you can change it like when we have adjustments, like when we did our drills, switching repeaters each week. I just adjusted the email to automatically sends an update and says, by the way, the net tonight is going to be on this at this time. And it goes automatically. You don't do anything. The only thing I wish it would do, which you might be able to tell me if it does, is there a way we can text the group? Can it text? I know the answer is no. That's what I thought. I can't do a
And
group.
again, neither can the depot, so 601 happens.
So I mean, I tell everyone, join groups IO for your unit and for the District 14, because when I send out district announcements, I'm sending out to groups IO. I may send out a brief wording on STX, say, go look at groups IO, because all the details are gonna be there.
And also, just to mention, for those of you that do send important messages, the AECs, ECs. It echoed my own voice. A lot of people, when they sign up for groups.io, they don't want to get 14, 15, 16 emails a day. So they do what's known as a daily or weekly digest. Now, what that does is it sends you one email every 24 hours or every 14 messages that come through. If it's an emergency message, you're not going to get it until the next morning. A lot of people wonder when we change frequencies for the statewide areas net, when we send out a blanket notification, everybody's like, well, we didn't know the frequency was changed. We didn't get the email till the next day. So if you are sending it out, those of you that have the privileges to do so, and I believe that Dallas, I know that I give people the privilege to do this. You send it as a special notice. The special notice will override their digest settings.
Did not know that.
There's a little box in the lower left-hand
Yeah.
corner, right before you hit send.
I always
Send
wonder what
as
that was.
special notice. That will override the user's preference. See, a lot of people don't want to get emails. They don't want to hear about Bob's hemorrhoids and reselling their
I'm gonna show my ignorance right here. What little checkbox? I do an email in my.
Can you pull up groups IO?
Them.
Can we pull
I
it up?
could if I was the video guy.
I know, I'm asking, can we pull that up now? I know it's
Can
not
you
you.
pull up the groups.io?
I don't send it through groups IO. I send an address. The address I use as an email is the groups IO address.
Okay, well, yeah, but if you're doing it on groups.io, you'll have that box.
Yeah, you
That's
can't,
what I
you
was
can't
wondering.
send it as a special message as an email. You have to go to groups.io itself, sign in, go to whatever group you want to send it to, and then before you hit send, you create a new topic. Before you hit send, there's a little box, send as special message.
Okay.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've never used it. I
If
didn't know
you're
what it
just
did.
doing an email to,
General.
what would it
group-
be? District 14 NE dot STXTX dot groups.io. If you're using that email, you don't have anything funky going on that you can send a special message. That's gonna get lumped in with the digest.
Might as well talk
You
about.
gotta use,
Well, that's what I've been using, the special.
True.
I didn't know this.
you need to be able to override people's settings. That being said, those of you that like, George, you can ask,
I have a question, comment. All this groups IO stuff is really good, and I need to get up to speed where the rest of y'all are, or y'all can help me out with that. But to me, the groups IO is a worthless tool after the event hits. Because I'm considering the internet's down.
Yeah.
I can't get to anything. I can't communicate on the internet. So it's only good before the event, maybe after the event. But during the event, I don't think we need to look at groups IO at all.
Well, we don't.
We don't
That's-
rely on.
But we don't rely on, but what we do is like they did.
Yeah.
Is they stood up some nets a day or two ahead of time.
Ahead of time.
Right?
That's
That's what we do.
Or like the net we had during the ice storm.
Yeah.
That was a good net.
Yeah. We had.
see, as Cheryl was saying earlier, when it came to when they stood us up, the Oxcom team here at Transtar, we were very limited in what information we could give. As a matter of fact, it was our section emergency coordinator that blew the beans out by saying, hey, are we talking pods or what?
Sounds like-
It's like, oh God, why did I even talk to these people?
That's because I'm hooked in with CERT and you ain't hiding nothing from me.
Right. We was told specifically, because there's, politics is politics. Joey did not want anybody leaking to the press under any circumstances that there were possibly going to be relief stations. They didn't, there was that match going on between up north and down south, and Joey.
And that was probably smart because we didn't have any.
Right, the only one who blew the beans was Jeff, and we blamed him accordingly.
Keep in mind, during Beryl, I still had internet, even though I didn't have power, because my internet cables were buried. All I do is plug in my generator to my router, I have internet. I'm looking at the city of Houston, I'm looking at Harris County, and those two people aren't talking to each other.
Yeah.
I'm finding out about shelters and relief stations and whatnot through the city, but I'm not focused on the county and vice versa. And that's not good.
I know.
I don't care if those kids can't play well with each other in an emergency. The citizen doesn't care. We have to be able to.
It
tell
got
them.
worse because we couldn't get anything from Austin either.
Oh, go beyond that, we couldn't get
We were
anything.
waiting for semis full of foodstuffs, pods.
How about tarps? We couldn't even get to those.
Well, that's what was.
Tarps, they have at the warehouse,
We
but they had
could,
more coming.
we could not get them. My neighbor across the street, over a month out, still has nothing.
Well, I can't speak for Joey either, but I just know how the process works. Has your particular jurisdictional representative reached out to, you're still in Harris County, right?
I'm in Kingwood, city of Houston. We are the
Yeah.
redheaded stepchild of the city. They don't give a rat's
But you're not in Harris County, you are in Harris.
I am in Harris County.
Then why don't you have your?
Because they say we're in the city of Houston, so they don't care.
Harris County doesn't care? Because we get requests from people in Harris County, the city of Houston all the time, they come straight to, they send like 213s to Joey.
Because we can do a 213 to Joey and work it that way.
There's an online.
I'm just saying, well, the dope smokers that live across, I'm sorry, I can't say that. The people that live across the street aren't smart enough to be able to put the tarp up.
There's that.
They're going to need that help.
That's a local problem. What I'm
Yeah,
saying
to
is,
their
if
house.
you're in Harris County, your elected officials or whoever runs your EOC or whatever, they have direct access to the guys upstairs, the big rooms, right online, you can fill in
The county
two 13 RR, click send, and it goes right to Joey and Brett's desks upstairs. Well, it actually goes to Weston's desk. So they can.
Hey, Dave, let's try 213 tomorrow and see what happens.
Yeah, you can send a regular 213 or a 213 RR directly to Lux. And in the worst case scenario, they'll say, sorry, we can't help you, but.
Or what they'll do is route it to where it needs to go. That's the other possibility.
Yes.
If they are not the right people, they usually know who are.
Does your EOC have web EOC access? Because if they do, it can put in a star request that goes right upstairs as well.
I don't think we have anybody that's win Weber's EOC at the EOC. It's hard to say.
The EOC that we work through is in the county, and it's us to see that.
Right.
They're not gonna work with Kingwood.
Oh,
Just a 213 should do it, though. Let's try that. But anyways, that's the last of ours.
That it?
Questions, comments, concerns?
Great.
What about all that?
clap, clap.
Woo!
You give him your little vibrating box there when you're done saying your show.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Who's up?
Southeast? There is a southeast? There is no southeast.
With the question mark?
George is the man, right? Mr. Fletch. Oh, yeah, there is a southeast, not a southwest.
Thanks, George. We got representation that area. Just look at that shirt, so your badge. Let's go through now.
Let's use some comments, open up the clip.
Yeah, but
Wireless microphone 101.
okay,
There you go.
all right.
Great.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, what worked well? Well, the thing I guess I can report to you is that my home generator connected very well to my house for the very first time. I was able to connect a 4-wire 220-volt rated cable from my generator to the house, and I was able to power the whole house except for the air conditioning and the washer and dryer and the microwave. But the refrigerator was stayed up. We were able to have fans in every room. TVs worked. It was wonderful. So that's the thing that really worked well for me anyway. Also, I was very fortunate to have come across some old junk repeater, scanners that I set up, and it turns out they scanned extremely fast. So I put in a whole bunch of emergency frequencies that we expect to use, and that thing was just sitting there scanning those things lickety split, and I wasn't missing anything. So I was real fortunate about that. So the use of scanners is probably going to be pretty important to us in the future, I think.
So what channels were you able to listen to on your scanner?
Well,
Even
What bands?
Trump? Police frequency?
well, in theory, yes. I mean, it covered everything from what, 136 to, I don't know, 400 or 500 megahertz. No, 800. It covered 800. But this was an old scanner, and the trunking systems, I've been told, have changed.
Yeah.
And so that scanner, I don't think, can trunk anymore.
Unless you have a police department or something that's still on VHF or UHF. Yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever. But I think these were old Radio Shack scanners,
Okay.
but they were apparently very good ones at the time. And as far as I'm concerned, it's still good because, man, that thing scans so rapidly. Wow. So I put in all of the VHF and some UHF frequencies that Harris County is going to use. And it was great. So that's what worked well for me. All right, next slide. Okay. Okay.
How did you put it in? Did you have a?
Manually.
Really? God, that
I
is
had to
not
punch
so-
every one of them in. Yep. Well, this was a Pro 94.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, but yeah, no, I didn't, there's no software that I know of. I had to punch them all
I
in.
had to do it with dip switches.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't that old, no.
Or used to do the analog cell phone frequencies.
Okay.
That was fun.
All right, what did not work well? Well, that's getting the status reports from District 14 on the 147 000 repeater. I think that's already been discussed.
There was no 147 repeater.
Well, okay, but the concept is we didn't get status reports from Harris County. Making telephone calls with a Getz card, I was very surprised that did not work.
It has never worked for me, never, not one time.
Hmm.
Only in peacetime.
Yes,
But
yes.
as soon as the storm hits,
Poof.
see ya. All bets are off.
Are you using the app on your phone to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's no app.
Yes.
Well,
It'll dial all those numbers you need. for you.
I can program my dialing part of my phone.
Does it work when it's not storm? Does it work?
Yes, yes.
Right. So when the storm hits. Yeah. It's here.
It did not work.
No matter what, you still need a cell.
Well, I think that was probably part of the problem. When the cell phones died, they really died. They went dead.
It'll do all the numbers for you and get it on, download it.
Okay, that PTS dialer, I tried to get that app and there's something wrong with it. It won't work.
Even at least time, even in good times?
No, I can't get the app to load right. There's
Phone, George, I'll do it in 5 minutes.
there's something wrong. I tried.
Test mine when I got, you're supposed to exercise it once a month.
Yes.
Plug them in, exercise it once a month.
Everybody else's phone.
I use this.
This is supposed to work.
With what?
Carrier, AT&T,
little better service than some of these other carriers.
Well, I have AT&T.
I'm Verizon.
So anyway, well, I was very surprised that I think when I still had cell phone
Now,
functional,
you realize that Getz is only landline, don't you?
Oh, it used to be super.
no.
Isn't it Getz is landline?
Does Jeff know that? It's saying that Getz never works for
Yeah,
him.
well, Getz is only
Getz is
landline.
only with a lamp.
Whips is for cellular, and you use both of them. If you're going Whips to somewhere else, it's gonna go over a landline.
Mine says WPS/GETS test call.
Yeah, well,
right.
Whips is the cellular component, and Getz is the landline.
So
component.
I could call my girlfriend right now and she'd answer.
Let's do
But
that.
if I call when it's raining.
I do that all the time. She always answers me too.
I've been using my Getz credentials on my cell phone and it works.
Well,
Yeah.
it does, but the weak link there is if the cell service goes down, it ain't gonna work. The landline may be working, but if the cell service goes down,
Okay.
you don't get priority.
So it's really a landline issue that I need
Could
to,
be. It could. be.
Well, then I'll never use it because I don't have a link.
Now, if you can't get it on your cell phone and you go to a hardwire phone to try Getz, it could work.
okay.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if you have Whips Getz both, Whips will give you priority on the cellular service, give you the first available, I believe. And then it'll also route your call through Getz when it gets to the landline portion, it'll send it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does it
Okay.
work over voice? Voice over IP? So what's the difference? If it's over the internet, it's over the internet.
I don't understand. the
So
question.
landline in the old
Well,
days,
VoIP
there was no land, there was all
VoIP-
landline. or
VoIP
nothing.
is landline. It's hardwired. You're either going for a fiber
Yeah.
optic
What's the
cable-
internet part? Voice over internet.
solve the internet problem.
I have the room till 9.
Voice over internet. It's
We're gonna
all
wrap it up.
like AT&T Verizon, or not Verizon, Uverse,
Yeah.
that's over internet. They've got a modem box upstairs, it takes your phone lines and routes it over the internet.
Okay, we probably ought to pull this off and have a separate
let's go.
discussion. Okay, next slide. What we'd like to see happen is that District 14 would start developing the methodology of using the 14700 for periodic status reports at the top of the hour. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean every hour. In the Southeast unit, what we have decided to do is to have periodic nets every 2 hours, starting at 9:30 in the morning. And it's on the half hour, not at the top of the hour. Ours would be on the half hour. So at 9:30, 11:30, 1:30, 3:30, 5:30, 7:30, and then back to 9:30. That would be our times for getting on the air. And at that time, hopefully we would take the status reports we heard at the top of that hour from District 14 and relay that to all the other folks at the bottom of the hour.
We've done this, we have the nets down here at Transtar and from home, sometimes we even net control from home. We usually, depending on what's happening, it's usually a 3-hour gap. So we'll do 9, noon, 3 o'clock.
Okay. If
6
we
o'clock,
choose
9
to
o'clock.
do 3 hours, let me know. I'll modify.
It's still 147,000, it's still the initial contact frequency for the entire district.
Right.
Everyone should go there, and then they may be rerouted to their unit frequency from there. But that is gonna be the district frequency, and the fallback is right now 145,370, which we don't think is quite as good as the tertiary, which is 145,17.
Right. So those three.
Quick question in regards to that, the 000 machine, the antennas come down on both stalls.
Yeah.
We know the reason for that.
And they were gone for days with people.
Well, we went through that in
Somebody in Zoom
June.
knows.
Through that in June, that we were gonna have those 3 frequencies, remember? We talked about that.
Yeah,
So
and that
the
was in the
hospital-
plan.
Hospital net frequency is the next one?
Well,
Or is that the third?
we skipped over 370 because the outage area was so wide that 370 wasn't gonna cover it, so we went ahead.
It's just the 370 machine.
That's a Transtar. It's a 300
Okay.
foot on the antenna.
I can barely hit it.
That's right, I know that. That's the reason we went to 145.17 because
That's the hospital.
That's the hospital, but the hospital wasn't using it. Even if they were using it, we've decided we can coordinate with it. Maybe we go top of the hour, they go bottom of the hour.
And it has a backup meter as well.
Yes. So I mean, I personally would like to swap the 145.370 to tertiary and go to 145.17 as secondary, but let's leave it the way it is for now. I don't
Well,
want
that's up to you and the.
No, we're gonna leave, as long as people know to go to 147.000, if they don't get anything, they go to 370, if they don't go anything, 145.17. That's the order.
That's why we need to have a bank of scanners.
Well, we talked about that in June, you know, I think we changed the plan
Mhm.
on the website.
Yes.
Well, see, the problem is that we had in the last two storms. People were talking on the 000 machine. As a matter of fact, during the derecho, I believe it was
Yeah,
John,
I wasn't here for that.
Katie 5U and Sean or somebody else, and I apologize, John, I don't remember who it was. Set up a net on 000, and they were talking. I got a phone call from Joey asking us to set up a net or from somebody. And we did, and I started the net, and John had already been running the net. He heard me coming into 000 machine, but I couldn't hear anything because the antenna was only working.
Yeah, well, that was another fiasco because I had sent an email out saying in my absence, I went on vacation. In my absence, I asked John Sawyer to be my stand-in for DEC.
Right.
And I know I sent that to Joey, so he
But
called you.
Joey is not calling Aries directly anymore. He's not calling ARC anymore. He's not calling Jeff or George or anybody. He's calling the Oxcom team directly and handing it to us and saying, get this done. He
You
doesn't
should
want
have
to
gotten,
deal.
you should have gotten that email.
What,
I
that
sent it out District 14 all. You should have gotten that.
about?
That John was my stand-in for DEC.
No, of course I did.
Yeah,
But Joey didn't contact Aries. He
Yeah.
contacted the
you
Oxcom.
should have contacted John. That's what I'm saying.
But he didn't tell me to do anything with Aries. He told the Oxcom team to stand up a net.
And
He didn't tell me to call Aries.
Who did you get to stand up for that?
Okay, George, what else you got?
Yeah, we can discuss this later.
Let's go on.
Okay, so what we need to do is, I think, ask all of our Aries members to train to the lowest common denominator for communications, and that would be analog VHF FM and HF sideband. All of that needs to be their bottom line, and everybody needs to be proficient in that. We thought about having quarterly show and tell meetings for Go kits and portable antenna systems and portable rechargeable power sources, like maybe what's down there. WinLink software setup and hardware connection. So maybe a quarterly thing where people can bring in their stuff. I know I've got a lot of emergency antennas that I could bring and show the things that I built, but maybe we need to start sharing more of that, and it might get more people to come.
How many units have in-person meetings? What, Northeast?
Not regularly.
Anyone else? First Tuesday of the month. Northwest doesn't, I know.
Okay, we don't have one on a regular
You
basis.
were talking about trying to do one, I know that. You said something in one of your emails.
Well, the last one we had was a barrel after action review.
Which is what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would encourage you, even if it's just quarterly, the units get together and you can have a technical component, like I'm trying to throw together. I like to bring in technical stuff. And I'd be welcome, anyone else that wants to bring in a technical schedule with me for the monthly meeting, bring it in and we'll put it in. If he thinks it's important. So I think this is gonna be interesting to you guys, but go on.
Okay, so another thing we need to do is tell all of our Aries members to train to the conditions of loss of every other communication system, like cell phones and loss of internet. That was the one thing that I was very surprised about during Hurricane Beryl, was we actually lost internet. And I was thinking, hoping, I guess, that internet was going to stay up, but no, internet disappeared and did not come back for a long time. So I was very disappointed about that. Okay, next slide. Other things. I've talked, and a lot of y'all have talked about WinLink, and we talk about WinLink a lot. And I think we got to be a little bit careful so that our Aries members don't get the idea they have to go get WinLink. Well, no, they should only do that after they've got complete expertise in VHF and HF sideband. That's our lowest common denominator. So they need to be proficient in that first, and then upgrade yourself to be able to use WinLink. WinLink's really nice. It's really getting more and more important. And I talk about it to my members a lot, but I've got to be careful and always remind them that, hey, you need to be proficient in these other areas first, and then go and do WinLink. Okay, well, that's all I had.
I would even say proficiency, you talk about being on voice. I think the thing too is proficiency and how to talk on a net.
Oh, yes, yes.
I mean, I think that's even before anything else.
Well, now you know why we rotate net control. That's how you get competent talking.
Yeah.
Make them do it. Put them in charge, put them net control, rotate your people.
Yeah, and we do. We have a rotation on the southeast end.
No, I'm just talking about these people do not know how to talk on a radio.
Well, that's true, but the way they learn is they're going to get on the net. They're going to participate in the net.
Got to worry about it.
Well, the district training page had two different trainings on that already this year, because we presented both of them on the air. And those, you read them first, make whatever little minute adjustments you need to, but the training library has some great resources on that.
Oh, yeah.
How to talk on the air.
I'm pretty sure KJ has had us do that too. I remember a couple about talking on the net and verbiage and everything else. So,
Well, I'll say this, I'll be quiet. We got people that are new hands, get on the radio, and they're talking as if they're talking on this, and you don't understand a word that they're saying. I like what, one of the quadrant has this motto that says, speed is important, accuracy is paramount.
Right. Okay.
any other ones? Any other questions? Now, Southwest unit, Wayne and West, which are the EC and AEC, are both out of town. Is anyone here from Southwest that wants to talk? I didn't see anyone, but so we don't know what Southwest thinks.
By the way, good job.
Yeah, George, thank you. Northwest, John.
I believe John is now on the HF net. John, are you still on Zoom?
I'm here.
Yes, sir. Would you like to give the?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Report? I can hear you. They can.
Can the room hear me?
No. You guys can't hear him rendering. Let me,
The other people
I'm
on.
putting you.
You might think about adding an amplified speaker.
Well, I can plug into that, but it's a little late now.
Yeah, well, running late.
I mean, I could try to parrot you, John, if you want.
I don't know how that would work, Lee.
Can you hear him on that?
Can you guys hear me?
Speak, John.
I don't have my.
I'm speaking. Can you guys hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I mean, I hear you on my computer right next to me. I could monkey your slides for you. Just trying to figure out why I can't hear.
Okay. So you guys cannot hear me.
Hold on 1 second, John. Because I'm wearing my earbuds. Yeah. I have to change my audio to my phone. I heard it fine in here. Audio should switch over to my phone. Try it again, John.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you guys hear me?
Change my audio. Safe driving. How do you get your settings on the, there they are. Unable start video participants chat. Let's try this. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, John, try to.
Hello. Hello, testing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you hear me?
I gotta put you on speaker and I don't know how. How do you choose speaker on Zoom? Very carefully. No. I've got it on the internal speaker. I just have to put it on the speaker.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There it goes.
Crank it up. It says as high as it goes.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Don't get too close to it. Everybody don't breathe.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I apologize for not being able to be there in person, and I'll make this quick since we're running, a 2-hour meeting so far, and some of the conversation and some of the comments have already occurred, but just a couple quick thoughts on a few slides. First, we experienced the Cat 1 hurricane that was expected to be low impact, so I think it caught a lot of people off guard. My opinion is many in Houston were not prepared for the level of damage. Some were slow to respond as a result. Space City Weather had an opinion that a region with a competent electricity distribution system should not have experienced such widespread outages. We really didn't have the winds that you would think we would have, and most of Houston only saw 40 to 60 miles per hour. And some areas were obviously hit harder than others, like Kingwood. But the bottom line is, I think it caught us off guard, and we may have had some fragile infrastructure as a result of the recent derecho event. Next slide. All right, so at the beginning of the event, and by the way, I'll comment also on Gets and so forth. My T-Mobile was dead, but my FirstNet worked just fine. So FirstNet was very solid for this storm. It wasn't solid at all for derecho, but that's just a side comment. So in area of coordination activation, so what went well? Firstly, we had some early team communication and awareness about the upcoming storm. We proactively placed members on standby for potential activation, giving us a time to prep, and even if not deployed, it's good to get some proactive possible communication on a possible deployment. Different teams were holding nets prior to and during the event, and many were prepared for outages, having just recently gone through this derecho. We have an opportunity though in how we look at it, and some of you guys have already mentioned some of this, but some teams held nets, some did. Repeaters were compromised. Not everyone is on groups or is focused on email during major incidents or can't even get email. Different comms were down at different times, and depot paging is limited, and we're also in our quadrant silos, so we don't know what's going on in our other quadrants as much at times, and we also could be helping our fellow ECs. In recent events, we had some difficulty between the two derecho event and this event. We had some difficulty getting information out for potential activations, and in some cases, I think that we take no action at times because we're waiting for an official activation. So the key suggestion here for me is that hold District 14 check-in and info nets before and during major incidents, regardless of whether we're officially activated or not. That would give us an ability to synchronize activities across quadrants and give us another avenue to coordinate and activate our teams. We increase our county-wide situational awareness. We test our repeaters. We know which ones are going down. And we'd be on the air to assist the community, which is really what we're supposed to be doing. And then individual quadrants would still hold their still hold their separate area nets as needed. The different areas have different impacts, as obviously with all these storms. And it gives us some additional awareness by monitoring the Texas GMRS nets, which we talked about. They had like that 3-day net, and the Skywar net and Races. We could interact with all those guys on our net and through our other resources. And we should review our overall activation process and the tools that we rely on. Next slide. Next, we have the Oxcom Aries pod conversation, possible deployment. So what went well when calls went out? We had some volunteers, and many answered from outside of the county. So that was pretty cool. We had a great detailed Oxcom plan that for the pods, and that would have prepared our people that got deployed very well for that activity had we been deployed. And I had quite a few comments from people saying they couldn't deploy, they'd like to, but they're already volunteering to help other people, and they're already trying to do their own recovery and help others. So an opportunity here, though, is there was some confusion and questions in the team on how we were leading the pod effort. It wasn't a normal process, and I had questions that it wasn't a normal process. I had questions about, is it an Aries deployment? I had other questions like, what are the ECs doing? It was a Harris County Oxcom led deployment needing Aries resources, but it wasn't clear to the rest of the team how it was being handled. And the reality is there's only 4 certified Oxcoms in Aries to support Harris County. And they're all Aries people, rather. And a major incident will not be covered without Aries resources, infrastructure, leadership, and support. So the suggestion that I have related to this is we need to communicate more clearly in situations where a Harris County Oxcom may be the lead in an incident and needs Aries resources. And the approach could be better defined, communicated, and coordinated with District 14 Aries leadership. So I already heard some conversation about that. I think it needs to be taken offline, and we need to kind of work through how we do that so we don't confuse our members, and we are fully functional and basically achieving the objective. Next slide. So we also had some repeater conversations about infrastructure. So what went well, backup repeaters that we utilized, the 145.17, 72, the 14672, and many others we relied on were solid during barrel. Others failed and had coverage issues. So an opportunity here is in basically the 2 most recent incidents, the derecho and barrel, we experienced compromised or down repeaters that caused some confusion and caused some problems with communication. So one key suggestion would be basically work with the trustees and leadership of Aries to review repeaters used by us for district-wide emergency communications. Look at it from a county-wide extended MCOM event perspective. Seek coverage, redundancy, and resiliency. And consider a coordinated incident-based linking, preferably RF, of repeaters for redundancy and more reliable county-wide coverage. And look at more county-wide simplex exercises to help in the event, help prepare our team for the event that we do lose repeaters. And that's it. That's all I had. I can't hear any audio.
I had forgot where 145.310 was, so they told me. All right, thanks.
Dave has left already. I was going to ask him about the linking. We'll talk about it. Okay.
One thing I do want to bring up, which I wasn't going to bring up tonight, but I'll make it quick because I know we're running a little late. After we got the call, after we got the call, no, I'm loud enough. It can hear me. After we got the call to start getting together clandestinely, as many people as we could possibly get to deploy for whatever was going to come down the pipe. After I started doing the paperwork and I put together the 205 and all that other stuff, question I got from Joey was, why didn't you put in a 213 RR and request a cache P25 radio immediately? And I didn't really have an answer for him because I didn't even think that would be something that we would be able to do. But do you think if we had been able to just hand out a P25 portable, and we have plenty of them, to every one of our clandestine locations, it would have made this work better, because we don't have to worry about repeaters, because they're all over the county. You don't need a ham radio license. You don't have to give your call sign after every transmission.
Well, it would have opened it up to non-hams, which I have no problem with.
I don't have a problem with either, as long as-
But I'll tell you one thing, the last MS 150 went on, I was giving lessons at a rest stop to people who had never seen a P25 radio before, had no idea how to use it.
That's when they're not trained.
Uh,
So they had the same radio communication plan for Ike. And we, on day 2 of the pods, we had 26 pods that were staffed with ham radio guys. Because day 1, the radio plan was, here's your box with a radio and a battery in and a spare battery. No training whatsoever were given to these pod leaders. So they decided on day 2, we're gonna get some ham radio guys out there. Forget the P25s, let them stay in the box. And so we ran the net for the pods at the FEMA trailer over at the yellow lot at the Astrodome with the FEMA guys that controlled all the supplies standing right there looking at a dry erase board of who had what at what pod. And so you're opening yourself back up for that if you just go to, we need areas for if you're gonna go to P25.
Well, one of the concerns I had is I don't know what Texas GMRS coverage is like. And I was hoping to get
Well-
some GMRS people to man some pods, which we never got anyone to stand up.
Do you have a list of those people?
No, we never got a
You
list.
have the.
We
you
had
know the
contact.
they've had?
You know, the thing is, I'm gonna say something, last year, and ladies can back me up, last year, GMRS was there for the Bayou Regatta. You had a GMSR person and a ham and a P25 radio for everything east of downtown. This year, they didn't show up, but I can say one thing though, I like the idea of the P25. What we're all saying is that, you don't have to worry about ID, blah, 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 as a ham. You know, we should be able to handle any radio that's given to us.
The biggest advantage of the digital system, whether it's P25, DM or whatever, is the infrastructure is 1,000 times better than anything ham radio operators are gonna be able to put together.
It works under.
If I'm standing in Boston and I go onto one of the channels that's shared with TextWarn over here, they can hear me like I'm sitting next to them. If I go to Montgomery County, I can talk into Harris County. I don't have to worry about spotty.
Let me
Worry about my squelch.
let me
I don't have to carry a 4-foot antenna coming out of my pocket. And
let me make a comment.
plus the fact the county can reach out to us because they use P25. The idea behind using ham radio operators, to a lesser extent, what Jeff just said, well, why do we need areas? We need people that are sensible enough to operate a portable radio or a mobile radio. And if you could figure out how to program a Baofeng, that's 10 times harder than turning on a P25 radio. If it's got the channels in it that you need in one zone, and that's the way we cash them out, is we set up something with the 4 or 5 channels we're going to be using, which is 7 TAC 55, which is a local repeater to the Transtar area on 700, 7 TAC 55 Delta, which is the one we use in logistics. And we could set it up for like a GCI 1 or a Harris County event 1 or whatever, where we would have our own frequency, our own channel, if you will. And it would work throughout the entire, all 4 regions, all 4 districts.
There's so many problems with that plan.
Surrounding District 1. And it all works on the same radio system. So that's the advantage of using it. As far as turning it on and turning it off, it's one volume knob. And one channel, which above the bells and whistles on it, but we don't usually. I mean, ham radio will always be ham radio, and you'll always be able to do CW, and you'll always be able to do SSB, and that's great. But in order to work with a lot of these entities, we're all switching to these digital systems to overcome the limitations of local repeaters, because these towers come down, you know, the 000 went out, and a lot of other local repeaters had problems. It might be a good idea to supplement. So that's, I think, how we can coordinate better with the 4 different units
if you will.
The problems
help
the
out.
problems I saw where people didn't understand how the system worked. It isn't push and talk. It's push and wait for a beep or whatever, and then talk. Or if you get a burp, you can't talk. The people didn't understand. It's not like a regular.
DMR with ham radio. When they first get into DMR, they key up and start talking. They
Yeah.
wait for the.
Can you guys hear me?
It's just that you've got to give the system a chance to find you a channel and then tell you, okay, you've got a channel, talk now. And these people I was training on the spot at the rest stops didn't know how that was.
How are you gonna deploy them? I was gonna say, how do you get the radios to the person?
Well, that.
Check it. That's logistics.
A whole completely different issue.
Yeah, that's logistics.
That can happen.
Let's say we have a massive hurricane.
NRG, there were 155 track trailers were supposed to be at NRG with the supplies to go out to the pods. I can tell you that now because it's no longer a thing. But they were staging at NRG. We could have brought the pods, the radio cache to the NRG, because we did have the logs guy there checking in the stuff. And they could have put them on the pod with a designation. This goes to the radio communicator. In the absence of a ham radio operator in the pod, because obviously we weren't going to be able to put a ham at every pod, then the pod leader can have one of these. If there's a radio guy there to help him, he hands it to the radio guy. He identifies himself as such. He gets the radio to help. So the pod leader is going to talk. Pod leader can grab the radio too. Say, hey, this is pod 44. And we could call back and play language. We don't just say, well, you don't need to file this protocol. Okay, pod 44. What do you need? Okay, or ask them for the information that Joey and the rest of the people were asking us for. Burn rates and supplies and how many people are coming through an hour and. Well,
Yeah, but I didn't see the radios as being the problem. The problem was
people, right?
And you send it out to someone out there that's some county official, or not even a county official, someone that's a county, I want to call them a leech, but anyway, they campaign for someone and they know nothing technical, and you hand them a radio. Are they going to be effective? That's my.
Well, I'm more saying that that's a resource that is available that we can hand out to our people that we're calling to help, ask for help.
We've got some definite pros and cons both ways on this. I don't want to be here till 1 a.m.
Yeah, let's go on.
Folks, I think it's a great debate. It's a great conversation, but we need to take this on a different level to do that, to work out the problem. We're not going to have this solved before the next event that comes in 7 days. We're talking about preparing for 25.
I'm not against P25s. Don't take me wrong. The problem is they throw them at a person and say, here, use this.
Now, that's just a training thing, but that's
Yeah.
how you tackle that. And that is a perfect conversation to have outside of this wrap up.
Yeah, it's an identified area. Okay, anything else? We don't have to do this if you guys want to bail out, but
Before we go,
We still,
defer to another.
Aren't we supposed to be able to find out?
move to adjourn.
Those who want to stay late, I'll show it to you.
Oh, one other thing.
I'm not gonna call this back.
We want to see you next time.
Yes.
Put my truck out.
Just want to remind everybody on Zoom, if you haven't, please go to the chat window. Make sure you put your first name, last name, call sign, and your affiliation, whatever you happen to belong to. Sorry we ran late. And I'm going to be killing the Zoom channel in a few minutes, but if there's any questions that somebody wants me to ask Sherwin or the rest of the people, you're in my left ear now, so tell it to me.
You guys here have those that are still staying.
I don't want to talk to
The other operating colleges. The Walt, Ryobi, Milwaukee, battery operated what? Power.
I'm going to mute this.
Look like that.
Okay, this is Lee, real quick before we kill the channel. Is there anybody in the Zoom channel that would like to ask a question that I can give to Sherwin? Or anybody else in the room before we end the recording?
20-volt batteries,
Going once.
or 18, or 40, these all different.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Please make sure, like I said, that you sign in. And I'm gonna end the recording now. Of course, the channel will stay available and open. So if anybody wants to just watch the visuals, and we'll be coming back a little bit later. So thanks for joining us.
DC converter.